What's happening, guys? Today I'm going to talk about how you may think that carbs and sugar are your problem, but they really aren't. Alright, so over time, sugar has definitely gotten a bad rap. And while I'm not going to sit here and say, go out and eat a bunch of sugar, right? That's not the point of this video. What I want to kind of try to help you understand is, oftentimes it's really not the sugar that's the problem, and a lot of times when we think that we're eating a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar, it's actually something completely different. And it's interesting, one of the questions that I have in my questionnaire for new clients who inquire is, if you understand macros, do you like carbs more or do you like fat more? And I would literally say probably about 80-90% of people put down carbs. But what's interesting is of those people, 80-90% of them actually end up having a harder time hitting fat calories than they do carbs. Most people really struggle to stay within their fat calories. And I think a big part of this is just a misunderstanding, and we don't understand that fat literally has over double the amount of calories that carbs do. Right? So 1 gram of carb has 4 calories, 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. So fat calories add up really fast. So you may look and say, okay, like I'm eating 200 grams versus carbs, and I'm eating 100 grams of fat, I'm eating double the carbs, but you're actually getting more calories from the 100 grams of fat than you are the 200 grams of carbs. So like I said, it adds up really fast. So a lot of people feel like they struggle with carbs and sugar and feel like they eat a lot, and when they do eat it, it triggers them to eat more and they have a really hard time stopping. But when you look at the food sources that they're actually eating and what they're talking about, it's really not just carbs and sugar, right? It's usually a mixture of fat and sugar that becomes the real problem that people have a really hard time stopping with. So if you look at something like pastries and donuts and cookies and a lot of the sweets and stuff that people really struggle with, most of the time there's just as much, or at least close to, if not more calories from fat than there are from carbs. And I actually did a little digging and pulled up some nutrition info on some of these items to help illustrate what I'm talking about. So if you have a chocolate frosted donut from Dunkin' Donuts, if you look at the nutrition info on it, it has 31 grams of carbs and 15 grams of fat. Well, that's actually 124 calories from carbs and 135 calories from fat. There's more fat than there is carbs. A Safeway cupcake, that has 28 grams of carbs, which is 112 calories, and 15 grams of fat, 135 calories. Again, more calories from fat than there are from carbs. A chocolate chip Pillsbury cookie, that has 18 grams of carbs, which is 72 calories, or 6 grams of fat, which is 54. So there are more calories from carbs, but there's still almost as much from fat. And if you look at something like ice cream, like a chocolate serving of the Market Pantry ice cream that I get, that has 22 grams of carbs, 88 calories, and 9 grams of fat, which is 81 calories, pretty much the exact same. So as you can see, a lot of these high sugar foods and foods that most people consider to be really high carb, there's actually just as much, if not more, fat. So it's really more of a combination of the two that seems to really trigger people, and it's a tough thing. So we don't really just want to just blame sugar. We always want to just blame something for people getting overweight, when at the end of the day, it's just because people are eating too much and not moving enough, right? Like, that's the real story behind it. Now, a lot of these foods make it more difficult, and they're definitely easy to overeat on, but you can still have them and still see results. And with regards to sugar, there was actually a study that was done that looked at just that. They literally equated calories and protein and had one group eat, I think it was 4% of their calories from sugar, and the other group it was either 43 or 44% of their calories come from sugar. So huge difference. It was literally the difference between like somewhere around like 11 grams of sugar per day versus like 118 or so, somewhere in that area. So huge difference in sugar. And at the end of the study, there was no difference in weight loss. There was almost no difference in all the different health markers. The only one that had even any difference at all was total cholesterol, and it was minute. And it was probably because the lower sugar group got more fiber. And there's a lot of benefits to having fiber. So we can look at that and say, hey, we can still have sugar. Sugar does not make us fat. We just have to account for it. You know, again, sugar can be easy to overeat on, but that doesn't mean that it has to be avoided. And a lot of times that actually creates the problem itself. Just saying, I cannot have sugar, I need to cut out sugar completely, and then what ends up happening is you feel restricted, you get to a point where you feel like you can't take it anymore, willpower starts to run out, and what happens? Well, you run to the foods that you haven't had in a long time, and you binge on it, and you feel like, well, you know, starting tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to have it again, so I have to eat as much as I possibly can right now, and it just gets out of hand. Whereas if we think about a more sustainable plan where you can include some of these foods that you like and feel okay with it and not feel guilty over it and just include it into your numbers, this is how we can see better progress long term. So unless you're like literally like downing pixie sticks and eating nothing but like Sour Patch Kids and Mike and Ike's and stuff that really is pretty much all sugar, I would caution you against thinking that, okay, like I just have a real problem with sugar. I think most people like a combination of sugar with fat, and it's quite delicious, let's just be honest. But I just wanted to try to help maybe open some people's eyes as to what is really going on and help you understand too, like fat is just a really difficult thing to keep down for a lot of people. And even though we consider most of the time that we enjoy carbs more, if you really dig deeper and look deeper, oftentimes it's fat with a mixture of carbs or sugar that really become the problem. So at the end of the day, if you're hitting your calories, you're hitting your protein, it really doesn't matter too much how much you break up your fats and carbs. It's really about what you prefer, how you feel better, and how you can sustain your program and stick to your numbers. And that's what's going to get you the best results, regardless of exact types of foods, or if there's high sugar or low sugar, or high fat or low fat, or whatever else. We need to always think big picture and sustainability. So hope that clears some things up. Any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will talk to you later.
I'm addicted to the love that you're giving. Every minute, every day I've been craving.